Hey guys, welcome to abstinphotography.com. I wanted to take just a few minutes to talk about a recent production of Back to the 80s at Barn Lot Theater in Edmonton. This play was fantastic. It was a musical. It was their first opener for the 2013 season, and it was outstanding. The costumes, the performance by all the actors was just absolutely captivating. It kept the audience attention throughout the entire event, and it was just a great evening. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was some of the techniques that I used in photographing this event. When you go to a theater, you will see that the lighting is constantly changing. There's a lot of movement, particularly in a musical where there's a lot of dancing and a lot of singing, and the lighting is generally very low for some of the scenes. Now, there are ways that we can compensate for that. However, we need to be careful how we do that. We need to take a few things into consideration. Now, it is very common in low light situations for people to simply increase their ISO, which is the sensitivity of the camera to the light. Now, there are times when this is necessary. However, one thing that you really need to remember is that increasing the ISO can also add noise to the photo. Now, there's a trade-off in a lot of these shots that you're going to see through this video. Some of the shots you will notice in the background that the background is very dark, it's very black. However, you will not see any noise in that. Now, there's a lot of a balancing act between the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture to get some of these shots. Now, most of these shots, a camera would not do very well if you were trying to shoot them in full automatic. This situation is one where you really need to get your camera out of the automatic settings and get it into the manual mode, in the creativity mode. Most of these photos I took using the shutter priority setting. However, there are a few, particularly those with the lower light, I was in full manual for a few reasons. One of the things that happens, even in shutter priority, if the camera senses that the shot is going to be extremely underexposed, it's going to try to open up the aperture just as wide as it possibly can. One of the things that does is gives you a very shallow depth of field depending on the capabilities of the lens that you're using. In some of the shots, especially those where multiple cast members are in one shot, you don't really want to do that if you want to try to get more of them into focus. Now, you may get one or two in focus by simply using the shutter priority and letting the camera decide its own aperture settings. However, if there is a real broad depth of field, then you will probably get some of those people out of focus in your shot. However, depending on the shot, this can be very creative. This can be something that really adds to the shot, as you see in some of those in this video. Now, taking the camera into the shutter priority mode really helps to control the ambient light. It really helps to control the lighting that is in the theater. Unlike a studio like what we have here, in a theater the lighting is constantly changing with the performance. It is going from light to dark. There's also different colors that are introduced, which is something else that can trick your camera. Now, taking the camera into shutter priority, you're able to control the exposure a little more. However, there are times when you need to go into full manual to get that depth of field to hold that f-stop where you need it to be to get that depth of field that you need. Also, with the ISO, there's a balancing game there as well. A higher ISO will allow you to use a little faster shutter speed, but there again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a trade-off because you can get some noise in the shots. On a very few of these shots, the highest that I went on the ISO was 2000. I did not really want to do it that high, however, the lighting just absolutely demanded it. Now, for most of this play, I actually was able to shoot it using an ISO of 1250 or lower. That, with most cameras today, as well as a lot of the software that's out there, can clean up very nicely, and the noise is virtually unnoticeable unless you blow the photos up just extremely large. Now, these shots were very challenging at times, however they were fun. Now, the musical, where there's a lot of dancing, sometimes you just need to go with the flow on it. Let some of those shots blur slightly. Let some of that action blur in that shot, particularly if you have some to where there is a character that is not moving, who is just perfectly in focus. Let that shutter speed go a little bit longer. Let those around him, if they're moving, let those around that one character blur a little. That really adds a nice touch to some of the shots. If they're moving their hands, as you'll see in a couple of the photos here, if they are stationary, that blur motion in their hands using that shutter speed kind of adds a nice touch to some of the shots. And there again, it also allows you to get the exposure to the level to get the shot where you need it. Now, I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a couple of ideas to try the next time you have the opportunity to photograph an event. I highly recommend that you take your camera with you, that you get out and you go and shoot. Nothing is going to teach you more about how to use your camera than picking it up and going out into your community. Now then, once again, Barnlot Theater, this production was outstanding. Barnlot has always done a great job of topping their prior performances, and for a opening performance for the 2013 season, I really look forward to the upcoming events because I know that they will be even better, but this one was absolutely outstanding. Anyways, stop by the website, abstinphotography.com. You can see a lot more of my photography tips there, as well as my other videos. And thank you for your time. Be sure to subscribe and send me an email. Join me on Facebook. If you have any photography questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.